Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book Tears of the Nameless by George Mann. This is a YA novel in the High Republic series. It's the penultimate YA novel in the High Republic series. That means that there's one more left to come in the whole series, and this is a pretty epic book. There's a lot of big stuff happening, and it's about 500 pages, and I really enjoyed this book. It kind of follows up on some other plot lines from the High Republic. This book really focuses on the characters of Reith Silas, who was in Into the Dark and was a big major character in Midnight Horizon, and you also follow Amadeo Azazo, who showed up in Defy the Storm, and I actually really like his character a lot here. And then you're also following Vernestra Rowe, has a very, very small plot line in this book, and I thought she was really good in it. And so it is a YA book in the series. This wave, the books that came around this time, you have the adult book Temptation of the Force, which I really enjoyed, and Beware the Nameless, I really enjoyed. This wave was really good. But interestingly, this is the first time I've ever said this. The YA book was my favorite in this wave. Traditionally, I'm not a big fan of the YA books for the High Republic. I just don't like the way they're out designed. I don't usually like the writing style that's used for them. I don't like the plot lines that they're given. I much prefer the adult books and the middle grade books. That being said, some of the books are pretty entertaining. I thought Defy the Storm was pretty good. It wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good. And then I thought Tears of the Nameless was just incredible. I was shocked by how much I enjoyed this book. One of the reasons I think I liked it the most is this is the least YA feeling of all the books. This book is the one book that if it had been branded as an adult book, if it had been given the design of the cover of the adult books, if it had been given the font size and the publisher and all that stuff, I would have thought it was an adult book because it doesn't read like the YA books. The Defy the Storm, which I enjoyed, reads like the other YA books, which I didn't enjoy as much. And it's just this one just happened to work a little bit better. But this one, Tears of the Nameless, it just really surprisingly works, and it really feels like an adult book, which is probably why it connected with me so much. You have the different plot lines that are all revolved around the Nameless and the Blight. If you have been following the High Republic, the Nameless are these creatures that the Nile use that can feed on the Force, and so they actually kind of target Jedi when Jedi are around. And then there's also this Blight, which is just infecting worlds and turning everything to like ash and stone and decrepitness. And the Blight is spreading everywhere. And you have the character of Reith Silas in this book, who's this character on the cover. Reith believes that there is a connection between the Blight and the Nameless, and he believes if he can figure out what that connection is, he can find a way to stop the Blight and stop the Nameless. And so that's what this book is basically about. He and Amadeo Azazo go on two different missions. One mission is to go and capture some Nameless to try to find out more information about them, and the other plot line is to try to is to try to find the origin of the Blight. And there's a lot of recurring characters from the High Republic series who show up in different ways, Aislinn Rell being one of them. He's a great character where you just don't know if he's actually trying to be helpful or whether he's actually a bad guy. He was very interesting in this book. Also, if you've been following like the Reith storyline in the last couple of books, you'll know the character of Comac Vitus, who the last time we saw him was in Midnight Horizon when he basically stepped away from the Jedi Order. And in this book, you're getting to pick up right where his story left off, and you're getting to see him, where his journey's taking him, and how it eventually will intersect with the other storylines in this book. And so that was really fascinating as well. And then you have Sakaris, I think it's Sakaris, is the villain in this book, who is just weird in the good way, is weird in a good way. And it is a combination of Nile, Nameless storyline that I was like, that is really interesting. He's probably not going to be the most memorable villain in the High Republic series, but still was, I thought, effective for this book. And this book, I think, is well crafted. The foreshadowing in the book, the payoffs, the promises in the book are really good. The last 150, 200 pages are really action-packed, whereas the first part is setup. The last part really feels like you're paying off so much. There's a lot of character dynamics. I loved the way that we had a friendship between Wreath and Amadeo and Vernestra, and they each had a great connection with each other. I think that previously, especially in maybe like phase 2 or maybe even phase 1, there would have been this inclination among the writers to make Wreath have like a romantic connection between Amadeo, and I was very glad they didn't do that. Instead, he has like a friendship with him, and I think that is exactly what the characters needed. And I really enjoyed seeing them have this kind of, both of them are kind of lonely, and so they're able to have this kind of connection, this friendship, and they both, are able to work together and enjoy it. So I really liked the way that their friendship was handled in this book. That's something that a lot of YA books miss, is friendships. They go straight to the romance, which I'm a big sucker for romance. But when it's between two guys, I want to see a good friendship too. So I really liked the friendship that was in this book. We also get some great themes about fear and themes about dealing with loss and dealing with moving on from loss. And so this book can get heavy in a few moments, but it also continues on, and it both has those deep themes while also feeling like a fun read still. I was able to read this pretty quickly, not just because it has larger font size than, say, the adult books, but just because it's just a kind of quick-moving story. And I think that George Mann just has a way of writing Star Wars that I really enjoy. He wrote the Battle of Jeddah script. He also wrote the Eye of Darkness, which I loved that book, and he wrote a pretty entertaining middle grade book for the High Republic as well. So he's done a decent amount of the High Republic, but he's jumped up my ranks of favorite authors in the High Republic because I really like this book and Eye of Darkness. I think those are two particularly excellent stories, and I just thought that it was a very visual book. Like, I could envision everything. It also feels like everything in this series is coming together. One of the fears I had was that this series would be so spread out because you had so many different characters, so many different plot lines, so many different villains. You had the Drengir over here, you had the Nihil over here, you had the Nameless over here, Path of the Open Hand in Phase 2, and it just felt like everything was spread out. And you can start to see everything coming together, particularly in these two books. In Temptation of the Force and Tears of the Nameless, you can see all the plot threads converging. You can see the end game now. And I'm thinking, this is good. This is really good. They're actually crafting this well. They're actually planning this out well. So I really am enjoying where this is taking the story, and it's really picking up for me. So I loved Tears of the Nameless. I'm going to give it a 8.5 out of 10. It's just missed a 9. I think it could have been a little bit shorter, but still, I really enjoyed this book. It was a refreshing take. I really enjoy George Mann's writing style. I really enjoyed the plot line and the characters and the action and everything. This book just meshed surprisingly well, and I'm very pleased about it. So I really enjoyed it, and I will give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think this is the best High Republic YA book by far. By far. I'm usually someone that says, skip the YA stuff. This one is really good, but it also is a payoff for a lot of previous YA books. So maybe if you haven't read the others, don't read this. But if you've been reading the YAs and you're curious how this one is, it's excellent. You should really read it. So I really loved it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below if you've read Tears of the Nameless. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.